today, what Square did in acquiring Afterpay. Oh, there's my guy,
the legend himself.
Oh, Caleb, we'll get to that later, Ian.
What's going on?
My guy's here.
What's going on?
I'll go there with you. It's so good to be with you guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
No problem. Caleb Silver, editor-in-chief at Investopedia. And as I said, it's really crazy that we have you on because, you know, anybody that watches Market Mondays, you know, I was a financial advisor for over 12 years. And especially when I first started, but even during, like, I never really stopped using the website because I would always have questions about like the 60-day rollover rule or like how much money you can put into a Roth IRA or the 5-year rule for 529 plans. And instead of like just putting it on Google and searching all these different websites, I would just go to Investopedia and all the answers are right there. Like it's literally the encyclopedia for investing. Anything that you want to know. So I was using the website before we had the relationship. So it's an honor to have you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yeah, I told you too, man, on a personal note, it was like, I'm coming from an education background. So everything in finance was like, I got to research. And the number one place, like you said, before we even had a relationship was you. Like every time I had to find an answer, I was going to your site before I even knew that you were involved with it. And when you were gracious enough to invite us to your show, I'm like, wait, that's you're the chief person over there? Like, this is yours? Like, hold on. I think I owe you a bit more gratitude. So thank you in advance. And we want to give you a public thank you for everything that you do for the community.
I appreciate it. Really, the honor is mine. And, you know, this is a website that's been around for a long time. We'll get into that in a minute. But I just want to say I'm just so grateful to join you guys. When I found out what you were doing, I think I connected through Josh Brown, a mutual friend of ours. I said, these guys are birds of a feather. We're all about financial literacy. We're all about financial education, investing education, giving people the tools to learn how to do it so they can build a lifetime of investing and growing their wealth. That's what you guys are all about. It's a super honor for me. And I'm delighted to be here and representing Investopedia. So thank you.
No problem. So let's get into it. I mean, we're going to talk about the Square situation. So you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean, so if you were sleeping under a rock today, last night, Square acquired Afterpay for $29 billion, which is interesting because from a financial company like Square or fintech company like Square to have an Afterpay component to it, it changes the game tremendously.
Can you explain what Afterpay is to people?
You guys want to go? Yeah, go ahead, Caleb.
Sure, I'll take it, and then Ian can take it. And happy birthday to you, Ian.
Thank you so much.
Buy now, pay later. So it's basically layaway, you know, in the digital world. And it makes a ton of sense if you're a payments processor like Square, thinking about what they do on the front end and on the back end. You want to have that back end component so people can lay away. And we're going to see more and more of that as we get deeper and deeper into e-commerce. But Square has really circled the entire ring in terms of being the payment processor of the future. A few others have done that as well. If you've been watching this space as closely as I know you guys watch it, Square's really got it covered. They got it covered into crypto. They got it covered now in the buy now, pay later world. They got it covered in the front end. When you walk into basically any store, you're using their device. Pretty smart company, was way ahead of all of this.
Yeah, absolutely. This reminds me a lot of maybe 2010 to 2011 in social media. I think Afterpay would be one of the biggest steals of this decade. Like the integration that they're going to have. Customers already love it. Business. I mean, if you guys go back 20 years, fortunately, we're old enough to remember when payment processors were almost like scam artists. Square's made it so easy for everyone to be able to transact. This is the steal of a lifetime. And once again, I think Square would be like the JP Morgan of this era.
Yeah, sure. A wise man once said that. And it also has helped the space, right? We watched a firm go up 10% today. Mm-hmm. Another one of those buy now, pay later, or pay over time companies. And so it's interesting what one move can do for the rest of the fintech space.
It's interesting that you say social media because, Square, it's following like Facebook's blueprint where like Facebook brought Instagram and then they brought WhatsApp. Mm-hmm. So now, of course, Cash App and now Afterpay. So Square is positioning itself, as Ian would say, to be the next JP Morgan of the digital world, the next 100 years, the fintech company of the future. So, yeah, this is something. How do you think that I'll ask both of you guys, how do you think that traditional banks are going to, adapt to this, because Square is making a lot of moves in the digital space, and it's interesting to see, like, you know, Chase or, you know, Bank of America, you know, how they're going to actually be a little bit more nimble on their feet.
I think they're just going to buy their way into it. You know, these banks are flush with cash. A lot of them had seen some 52-week highs or record stock prices just in the past few months as financials have really rallied. Everybody's got a ton of money, a ton of venture capital. So they're going to buy their way into it versus build their way into it. Building takes forever. And if you've seen even just the last couple of years with the free trading, that Robinhood kicked off, and then all of them got into that, they bought their way into it. So the Morgan Stanleys bought their way in through E-Trade, the Schwab and the TDA. So you're going to see big banks just acquire some of these other payment apps and some of these DeFi companies just so they can build that little galaxy around themselves. I'm glad you brought up the Facebook analogy, because remember when Facebook bought Instagram, the price tag seemed really high at the time. And the same with WhatsApp. And everyone was like, oh, that seems high. That seems like a joke right now. And I think we're going to say the same thing about Square and this purchase here, because in a few years, it's going to be like, that's the only way this is done. And whatever they paid in that transaction, it wasn't as big as the 26 billion. It was, you know, a few billion, plus the assumption of some debt. It's going to look like the absolute steal of the year.
Yeah, and it wasn't a cash acquisition. It was more, I think, all stock, correct?
Right.
Yeah, so
a little easier for them to do. Their stock's super inflated right now.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.